Hi, welcome back. We will continue further and try to understand communication and little bit of physical terminology. I am not trying to say that I am going to construct something here. Till now we are trying to understand the concept of communication in terms of mental system or a kind of a psychological system which was closely related to thinking, closely related to attitude, closely related to behavior, closely related to what is called as opinion. But now we'll try to translate the concept of communication in a slightly different format. What is that format we are talking about? We will try to understand the definition, meaning and scope of communication in the form of a paradigm. We will try to understand the communication process in the form of a theoretical concept. We will try to understand the communication process in the form of a model. So this is how we are trying to structurally build the process of communication as a paradigm, as a theory, and as a model. So let us first look at the concept called paradigm. What is a paradigm? A paradigm is a set of propositions that explain how the world is perceived. Or, in other words, paradigms are broad theoretical formulations. That means, in this subject, we will try to understand almost all the major theoretical formulations that are associated with the field of communication. That means we are trying to look at communication as a paradigm. So we will try to understand almost all the theoretical concepts in the field of communication. So let us try to understand the word paradigm itself. There are three major paradigms. One is positivistic perspective, the other is interpretative perspective, and the third is the critical perspective. Now let us do not bother about how these came. Maybe just a passing sentence here. The positivistic perspective came from Comte and Durkheim, the great sociologists of the time. It defines reality as everything that can be perceived through senses. That means we are trying to understand the word or the communication process as a reality which can be perceived through senses. In fact, there is a very beautiful model which deals with how we perceive what is being told through our senses. We will deal with those concepts a little later on. The second is interpretative perspective. It relates to the work of Vico and Weber. Interpretative theorists believe that reality is not out there, but it's in the mind of people. You see this? So reality does not exist in the classroom. It is not a physical structure. It is what is out there in my mind and what is out there in your mind. So we are thinking in terms of paradigm, or building a paradigm on mental system or mental construction. And the third is the critical perspective given by Karl Marx. And let me tell you, a number of feminists also gave paradigms in terms of critical perspective. What do they mean? Critical theorists say that reality is created not by nature but by those powerful people who manipulate the conditions and brainwash others. You see what is happening? Look at the critical perspective here in terms of communication. Here, communication is used as a tool by those people who want to manipulate other people. Take, for example, the field of advertising. A manufacturer is advertising to promote his product and literally making you purchase what he wants. Take the field of public relations. What is it? It's nothing but a manipulation of image building exercise of an organization. Take, for example, political communication. So, naturally, Karl Marx is right when he says that it is in the hands of those people who are capable of changing conditions. And probably you have a very beautiful subject called media management, where you learn how ownership of media affects what media tells to the people. So this is how we look at the paradigms developed by various scientists at a little later stage. The second is, let us try to understand the theoretical aspect or the theory itself. What is theory? According to Karl Popper, a philosopher instrumental in shaping the 20th century view of knowledge, says theories are nets cast to catch what we call the whole world. So theory is like a net. It can catch the minutest changes that are occurring in our world and help us to understand what the whole world is all about. But theories don't fall from the sky. They have to be created. Okay? We will understand the theoretical concept, the word theory, in another very beautiful paper called as Communication Research, where we talk about the relationship between science, theory and models, which you will study probably at some other stage in your education in the field of communication. But anyway, to be on the safer side, let us try to understand the two basic ways of building theory. One is the deductive approach. That is, we are deducing from general to a particular. So we are trying to develop a theory from a very general concept to a particular concept. And this deductive approach was given way back in 300 BC by Greek philosopher Aristotle. In fact, he gave the world a very beautiful gift called systematic thinking, what we call it as deductive logic. The second is the inductive approach, where we start from individual observations and based on that we build the theory. So here inductive approach gives primacy to the theory, or what is called as primacy to observation. That means the entire theory is built on what is observed. And this concept of inductive thinking or inductive approach was given by Francis Bacon as far back as 1630. So the theory building exercise is based on two major approaches, the deductive thinking and the inductive thinking. The third aspect which we are interested is in model. What is a model? It is nothing but a structural representation of a process. Okay? So models are a theoretical and simplified representation of the whole world. Take for example model of a house. Okay? So when we look at the model of a house, it is a theoretical representation of the real life called house. That is the beauty of it. So models are a theoretical and simplified representation of the real world. So we will try to construct models of communication. Try to understand the models of communication in a very, very simple way. So, some models are structural in nature, some models are functional in nature. Structural models given by, say, for example, Warren Weaver gives us how the process of communication takes place. Functional models given by Harold Laswell gives us how communication functions. So, we will be discussing various models of communication in future class. But let me tell you, three concepts are very critical here. One is how the communication is represented as a paradigm, how communication is represented as a theory, and how communication is represented as a model.